Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm back at it again with another video. As I sit here toking on my vape, right? Man, I pull one of those things that I usually do once in a while, and I'll just go back reminiscing on YouTube, looking at old commercials. You know, because, man, say what you will about YouTube, it has its faults, but, man, it's the closest thing to a time machine you'll ever get, man. Then you go back and you watch professional wrestling back in the days, and you just sit back and just reminisce, man. And then you look at all the good things that was happening at the time, bruh. Like, not just the wrestling in itself, but then it just gets you to think about pop culture, the movies, the music, the television shows. And man, I really wish I could take some of the youngins today and just plop them in a timeline like back in our days when, like, I don't know, it feels like everything that was going on at the time actually had meaning. You know, like, you look at today's day and age and, like, everything feels so business centric, you know what I mean? Everything feels like it's just for the sole purpose of making a buck, and there's nothing wrong with making money off of entertainment. I mean, that's just the way it is, but, like, it just feels like today's pop culture does not have any soul attached to it, man. And it's hard. It's really hard to relate that to young people today, because for the most part, you growing up in the 2010s or the 2020s, this is all you know. And it ain't like a person is getting mad at you for pretty much only knowing what you experience, but it's just to suggest that the things that you get hyped about, say in professional wrestling today, is something that was the norm every week. You know, I still remember back in the days, you know, I leave elementary school or middle school, hop on my bike, go chill with my friends, come in the house, take a shower, eat dinner. You turn on UPN, you hear Everybody Loves Raymond, the ending credits, and then it goes directly into SmackDown. Man, those were the days, man. Those were the days. Had to take it off my vape real quick. I just want y'all to experience that, man. I really wish y'all can experience it so you can understand where people are coming from when they talk about the mediocrity in professional wrestling nowadays. You feel me? I mean, you can really extend that, as I said previously, to pop culture, where there was no one really expressing their politics to the degree that it started to affect pop culture, to the degree where it's making enemies out of friends. Just life was so much easier back in the days before we had a smartphone. And it has its advantages, don't get me wrong. But man, it's making life nowadays so boring. Like, everything that you see is a remake of a thing that was already created about 30 years ago. That goes for movies and music. There's no originality. There's nothing really going on. When all you can really do is pretty much use your politics in order to cultivate the culture around you, it's going to get stagnant eventually, because the politics is going to interfere with what's supposed to make it good. You feel me? I'm gonna judge this AEW episode a little bit differently than how I did the other episodes. I'm gonna try my best not to make any jokes, point out the nuances, the negatives as much as humanly possible, because I feel like the yelling and screaming, I think it's taken away from the point of what I've been trying to get across ever since I started recording on YouTube about 5 years ago. The whole point was not just to be simply an alternative, but pretty much remind everybody what we were missing and what we can actually have and get back. I'm not mad at any of the youngins. You only know what you know. But I am here to at least, if for nothing else, show you what you're missing. And hopefully, in the future, and currently right now going forward, I can do my best to point that out as clearly as humanly possible without having any distractions or deflections from my arguments that I put across for people to understand. But no use talking about it when I can just show you. So with that being said, let's get into the AEW show. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it delivers, but if it doesn't, let me be the one to tell you why it didn't deliver. Let's go. All right, so before we get started with this Adam Cole match, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, he should be taking on, I think, Buddy Matthews. And I said this last week, and I'm going to keep up with it. I do want to see this match, more so because I'm a big fan of Buddy Murphy's in-ring work. Or I guess Buddy Matthews is what he goes by in AEW, right? But before we get there, let's talk about this opening match, or this opening promo segment with Orange Cassidy. So I like the promo package that they opened up with in the intro. I like how it came on as far as the production value. Made it feel big deal. I don't know, the production value kind of reminded me of like a older WWE intro to a pay-per-view. I don't know, I just kind of get those vibes a little tiny bit when it, you know, started showing the Halloween theatrics and the way that it was like, you know, coming out of the effects that was actually you know what I'm trying to say, the effects in itself, right? But it was cut short, right, in the middle of the actual segment in itself, the promo in itself. Very similar to last night when Tatum Paxley kind of cut in the middle of her vignette. And Orange Cassidy came out, right? He's dressed in black. I don't know if this is supposed to be a part of the gimmick now or if it's just for tonight because it's Halloween. But he comes out and he cuts this promo, right? Talks about how he's upset at Jon Moxley and the rest of the BCC for taking out Chuck Taylor. Says that he's angry that they stepped on his neck, broke his neck, that's his best friend. And how he is not a leader. He doesn't want to be in this position, but he knows that he has to be in this position and he knows what he has to do. He has to be the one to take out Jon Moxley. And he took off his shades and he looked directly into the camera and he says he challenges him for the World Heavyweight Championship, right? And he puts back on his shades and he starts to, you know, sway a little tiny bit as far as the promo in itself, from serious to back to Orange Cassidy mode. And he essentially ends it with his catchphrase, which is he doesn't have a catchphrase. I like where this was going in the beginning. I like how they cut abruptly in the middle of the vignette. You know, kind of gives it more of a I don't know, not a rush, but more of an anticipated kind of feeling. But at the same time, though, there's two things that I just can't. And I'm trying my best to be as unbiased as I possibly can, but I do have my own perspective when I look at professional wrestling, and I just can't help but notice that Orange Cassidy, he is just so small, man. He's so small. The camera zooms out, and he's like barely able to clear the top rope with his head. That's how short he is. And you know, I don't know. I just cannot take the Orange Cassidy gimmick seriously going up against Jon Moxley, right? Jon Moxley's character is supposed to be this wily, crazy person who is hell-bent on taking over AEW, and you're presenting me Orange Cassidy. Now, I get it. Objectively, the whole deal is supposed to be Orange Cassidy is one of the originals. You know, he's the guy who's one of the fan favorites for AEW. And I understand from the AEW audience's perspective, this is what you will want from a storyline perspective, right? But I just can't take his side seriously. I just can't. Like, not with this gimmick can I take his side seriously going up against Jon Moxley. And I know they've had matches in the past, and I didn't take those seriously either. You know what I mean? But to just kind of go a little bit further with this also, that was already bad enough. But to see him just, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like to see him in full-on serious mode in the serious segment, talking about his friend who was injured, got his neck broken, going up against such a dangerous crew, for him to be so serious, to transition right back into the comedy. It's stuff like that that kind of takes you out of the moment. And I get it. If you're an AEW fan, maybe this doesn't bother you. I guess that's fine. But for me, and how I was raised when watching professional wrestling, when you're in a situation like this, like I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin when, he was searching for the person who ran him over with the car, right? And he found out that it was Rikishi. And what he did to him at No Mercy, preemptively, when he cut that promo, that serious, diabolical, I am going to murder you for running me over and trying to take my career. For a storyline like this, you would think that would be the aggression, especially when Orange Cassidy and everything that is tied to him is being threatened. And it just wasn't portrayed correctly here. At least to me, it just wasn't portrayed correctly. And then you take that and then you align it with his size. I know some people might not care about that, but I do. I want to be lost in the story that I'm watching. And I just can't take it seriously. I want to take it seriously, but I can't take it seriously. But, it started off well. Like I said, the intro, all that started off well. But then it just kind of went off the rails once he started going back into the comedy. And again, just optically, I'm looking at the guy and it's just really, really hard to take him seriously at that size with this gimmick. But we'll see how it plays along. If they can kind of tie this up into some type of linear story going throughout the night, then I guess I can, at the very least, somewhat be lost in it. Maybe I could pretend at the very least, just look at it just on its face. But just looking at how it's being portrayed here, I didn't like it. And then U.S. Sasha Banks, she's coming on the corridor with Camille, and then she gets a word with Renee, and Renee asks, Sasha, what's going to happen tonight, and she just kind of gives her the run of the mill, like, Chris Statlander is one of the strongest women in the women's division, but I don't think she stands a chance against Camille, and I want Camille to hurt her, essentially, is what they were going on with. But coming up next, as I said, Adam Cole is going to take on Buddy Matthews. Hopefully it's a great match, but the intro and the promo started off well. I didn't like how it ended. I appreciate what they were trying to do with Buddy Murphy and Adam Cole. I appreciate the at least attempt to tell a story with all of this, but this didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go as far as a match is considered. For one, Adam Cole, and this is a problem, and this is why I really don't mind the whole WWE developmental system thing that they want to do with the independents. Because this is the bad habits that's taught to you on the indies. This is the bad habits that's taught to you outside of WWE. I feel like this wouldn't be so much a problem in WWE as much as it is in AEW. But like, you constantly wanting to get your spots in at the behest of ignoring the fact that you're selling. Like they try to do this whole thing with Adam Cole messing up his ankle. Again, reminiscent to last night with Brian Pillman Jr., they try to do the whole gimmick with the referees coming out. It looks like it's going to be a match stoppage before Buddy Murphy gets on the microphone, and he calls Adam Cole a bitch to get him back in the ring. And Adam Cole gets back in the ring, and he has the match with Buddy Murphy, and it's just like he completely forgot that he had an ankle injury. I swear, multiple times he just kept forgetting. And it was just at the behest of having to get the spots in. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he attempted a Panama Sunrise and didn't even one time sell the ankle. It gets ridiculous after a certain point. I mean, I can somewhat at least look at it from a hierarchy standpoint and buy the fact that Adam Cole beat Buddy Murphy on one leg. Because, again, he's the bigger star. That's how you have to look at it. Unfortunately, you can't really take into context the size of the superstars anymore. And if you were to do that, apparently people tell you that it's fake, and they try to, rectify the situation by telling you professional wrestling is fake without ever having you reflect on what you see on the television, which is all that matters in the end of the day. But in the end, Adam Cole ended up getting the win. And after the match, he tried to shake Buddy Murphy's hand, thank him for reminding him who he is. And when Buddy Murphy went to go shake his hand, the lights cut off, it came back on, and Malachi was in the ring instead, holding Adam Cole's hand. And I guess the way they made it sound like it's going to be Malachi Black next to go up against Adam Cole in this whole little best of 3 series, technically, along with Roderick Strong, to see who's going to get the match with MJF coming up at Full Gear. And typically I wouldn't mind multi-layered stories, but this one just kind of feels all over the place. I mean, you have Adam Cole, who's simultaneously feuding with the House of Black, technically feuding with Roderick Strong in order to get an opportunity at MJF, and it takes away from the focal point of that story, which really does bug the hell out of me also, because you would think theoretically everything should be put on MJF and Adam Cole, which is going to be difficult because MJF is not there. He's not going to be, I mean, theoretically maybe they might be playing us in story, but as far as we know, going off of the story, he's not going to be back to full gear, and you know, it's going to hurt it. It's going to hurt it. It's really going to hurt it. And it sucks, you know, because it's one of those things. Also, I would much prefer to see an angle at this point in time with Adam Cole and Malachi. They have a long history going back to NXT, and you know, that's not going to be the case. You know, that's not going to be the case. And you know, this match was, it was a letdown. I'm not going to say it was necessarily bad per se, but it was a letdown. And it doesn't hurt that the crowd is really, really dead. You know, I was thinking to myself, maybe they were dead in the beginning for Orange Cassidy's promo just to show them respect, but they were rather dead in this match also. So, you know, that didn't help matters also. But I guess that's going to be what's coming up, is Malachi Black and Adam Cole sooner rather than later. And we had a backstage promo with Christopher Daniels reminding Private Party how him and Kazarian was in the same similar positions as where they are at right now, pretty much putting everything on the line, because later on tonight it's going to be Private Party versus the Young Bucks, career, well, not really career, I don't want to say that, but them as a tag team on the line for a shot at the tag team titles. And Christopher Daniels was just reminding them, hey, you know, I lost the match for our team, and Kazarian never looked at me the same, to the extent that he's not even here right now. So he just wants the guys to understand that this is the predicament that they're in right now, and he hopes that they're ready, of which, you know, they said that they're cool with this and they know what they have to do. So that's going to happen later on tonight. But let's see what's up. I mean, it went on commercial from a Drive King commercial, so we'll see what's coming up next. Okay, so let's make this as quick as we possibly can, because honestly, for the most part, what we've been seeing was a bunch of nothing. I quite frankly don't care for Kyle Fletcher. I mean, he's coming out here looking like Alex Wright transformed into Berlin or something. I don't take him seriously. Maybe if he gets enough wins. He has the size. He has the look somewhat, I guess. If you can build him up to be a somebody, I guess I can see myself taking him seriously with a credible story. But this right here, I just can't take him seriously yet. He came out and he pretty much tried to call out Will Ospreay, but it was all just a joke because Will Ospreay wasn't there. But instead, who came out was his old tag team partner of the United Empire, I think, Mark Davis. I think he had like a wrist injury or something like that last year on, I think, Wrestle Dream, right? He was out for a while, like at least a year. That's the last time I seen him in that tag team match at Wrestle Dream. But he came out, I mean, honestly, looking like Jake Roberts' son. I mean, he looks like such a bum, but he came out, and honestly, you couldn't even tell me this guy was a wrestler. He looks like a legend from the 1980s, and he's telling them, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing this? You know, you're calling out Will Ospreay when you know he's not here. And he's like, this right here, why? And then, you know, Kyle Fletcher, typical heel trope, he was like, hey, it's fine. I knew you were going to be here. I got a spot for you in the family. You know, think about it for a second. Will Ospreay didn't care about you. He didn't care about me. He only used us to further his career. But I cared about you. I always thought about you, not Will. And he told him to come into the family, and then Mark Davis declined it. He said, you know, you had a family, you had an empire, and you destroyed it. And he walked away from him in disgust. And as he's walking away, Kyle Fletcher, he's like, I can cut the past super easy. You already seen what I did to Will Ospreay. Just imagine what I do to you. And that was pretty much it. It was pretty much nothing. Like I said, if you can give something to Kyle Fletcher, I can maybe attempt to get into him. But so far, this isn't it. And then they follow this up with a promo from Hangman Adam Page backstage, and he said a bunch of nothing also. Just essentially him and Jay White are gonna have a rematch coming up at Full Gear. And how he went on about his record of losing so many matches to Jay White. I think he said the record was like 4-1 or something like that, and how he knows how he's going to come after his leg and take him out, but it's going to take more than that. And when he's through with him, you know, it's just typical heel tropes, you know, nothing really surprising, nothing really special from either one of these segments. But I mean, it just is what it is. It is what it is. I'm telling you, folks, I'm focusing on the show. I'm not really seeing anything special, but maybe this can switch gears and hopefully something can come out of this. Because again, coming up next, we do have Jon Moxley and the rest of the BCC. Obviously, they're going to talk about Orange Cassidy and what he talked about earlier tonight when he challenged Jon Moxley for the World Heavyweight Championship. Hopefully this delivers. It's already on bad footing because it's in the middle of the card, but hey, like I said, linear storytelling. I'm fine with this because Orange Cassidy open. Hopefully this ends the show, but I highly doubt that's going to be the case. This was so fucking... Oh, man. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. I can't stress this enough. I told you I was going to come into the show, and I'm not going to over-exaggerate my feelings. I'm not going to play a character or anything. I'm going to give you my unbridled opinion. This was terrible. What the fuck was this? What the fuck was this? This was completely disorganized. I don't know what the hell they were trying to do. Who the hell was getting over in this? I'm not even understanding what the fuck was going on. So you had Jon Moxley come out with the rest of the BCC. He gets in the microphone. He's rambling. Like he sounds like Bray Wyatt circa 2015. He's just saying words that he thinks are deep. I'm not even understanding what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, I get it. This is just the way he talks on the microphone. But like I'm not feeling this promo. This promo was all over the fucking place with Jon Moxley. He's talking about how demons fight on mountains and how they're gonna fight in the valley and how he's willing to die for this valley. Is Orange Cassidy willing to die for this valley? And just utter nonsense. And I will say, there was one part that I actually did appreciate. I was trying to see where they were going with this. He was like, there's one way to get you out here. There's one way to make you a leader. And they took Wheeler Yuta, and it looked like they were going to sacrifice him, right? They put the chair on his neck, like they were going to Pillmanize him. And then Orange Cassidy came out to save Wheeler Yuta, but that was all just to get Orange Cassidy out. And you have in the background Marina Shafir slapping Wheeler Yuta, so I'm not even sure if this was a ploy all along between the group to get Orange Cassidy to come out, or like they legitimately were going to sacrifice Wheeler Yuta, and he understood this, and he understood it was for the greater good, and then he helped join in on the attack of Orange Cassidy. So I think that part is interesting, but then the rest of this just turned into a complete mess. Like you had the rest of Private Party and everybody else from the locker room come out. First it was the Dork Order. They came out to help out, and eventually they were overran. And like you have Neville and Cesaro and Moxley and Marina and Yuta. They're taking all these guys out, but you know, then you had Orange Cassidy. It looks like he was gonna get Pillmanized, and then out of nowhere Darby Allin came and he propelled from the ceiling like Sting did. Because again, I'm telling you, this is all just, this is like this is just low tier NWO Sting. Like that's what it is essentially, but they're doing it terribly. This was just complete nonsense. You had Darby Allin propel from the ceiling, and he's trying to fight everybody, but he's still hooked, and he can't get himself unhooked. And Cesaro and him are like fighting on top of the announcement table, but clearly they gimmicked the announcement table, and they didn't slam each other. They were just both on top of the announcement table, and then the announcement table collapsed. I mean, completely ruining that gimmick, obviously, and just it was just nonsense. And then on top of that, it seems like for the most part that the BCC, they were still taking out the people. Like they were taking out Darby, they were taking out the Dork Order, they were taking out Orange Cassidy. Not until more people leaked out from the back of the locker room did they finally get the advantage, and then they ran away with Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin chasing them to the back, and it was just all goofy, and it was just discombobulated. Like I said, it was disorganized. This was terrible. This was terrible. Never mind the fact that Jon Moxley was rambling on. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. That was objectively a terrible promo from him. But just, so let me see if I understand this. The whole point of this is Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin are supposed to be the leaders of all this, right? That's the whole point, right? The end goal, I presume, is supposed to be putting the championship on Darby Allin. It almost feels like they're doing NWO, and like Darby is playing the role of Sting, and I guess Orange by default is playing the role of Lex Luger. That's what it feels like. That's what they're trying to do. That's what it. But the thing is, though, like, you took out, before the rest of the locker room spilled out, right? You took out two of the main people who are supposed to be going after the stable. You made them look weak, like really, really weak. I was thinking when Darby came out that maybe he himself, because obviously, if you remember, when Sting was going up against the NWO, he was the game changer. When the NWO were battling the rest of the WCW locker room, when Sting made his appearance, he was the one by himself to clear out the rest of the NWO. Whereas with Darby, he didn't make a difference. He was just a part of the crew. He was just a part of the crew. Not until the rest of the locker room came out did they chase them away. This is ridiculous. All of this is ridiculous. From the botched table spot, from Darby looking like an idiot with the hook still in his pants or his shirt or wherever it was locked into, from making these guys look like essentially jobbers to the stars, even though they're the two main guys who are threatening Jon Moxley, presumably. From the fact that Jon Moxley is just rambling on in this promo, this was just nonsense. Utter nonsense. I don't know where they're going with this anymore. Honestly, I still don't even have the goal of what Jon Moxley is trying to get across. I don't know. I have yet to see the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, I'm just speaking about this objectively. You don't hear me yelling and screaming and over exaggerating. I'm just telling you what I see. This is just nonsense. This made no sense whatsoever. None of this was good. This was bad. This was really, really bad, guys. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I try to be objective, and I'm trying my best to see the good in all of this, and I want to extrapolate the good and focus on the good. I gave you one little point as far as Wheeler Yuta, but that almost falls in between all the nonsense that we were seeing going on with this crazy, stupid brawl. And then to make matters worse, then you had the Young Bucks come out, and Private Party are conveniently the only ones in the ring. It was just dumb. And now we have this tag team match coming up right now, so I presume it's going to be Swerve and Shelton in the main event. So I guess Bobby Lashley is going to, I don't know, man. Let's just continue on. But this was stupid. This was really, really stupid. And this all happened in the middle of the card too. So the world champion most likely not main eventing again, even though he just won the world championship like a month ago, and he's still not main eventing. This was, I don't know what you want to say. I don't know. Let's just continue on, I guess. Whatever. All right, credit where credit is due. I'm assuming this is probably going to be the only highlight on well, there is one more thing. We'll see how it plays out in the main event, presumably. But this was good. This was fine. I like this. Everything about this match was exactly what I expected it to be. I came into this match knowing the type of style that they were going to wrestle, but I will give credit where credit is due. They told an excellent story in this match. This match was fantastic. I will give all the props in the world to this tag team match. They went out there and they told a great story. They absolutely did. You can't sugarcoat it. Yes, they did. And I loved everything that they were telling about this. The struggles for Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. They were selling their asses off. Like you were getting like the typical high spots from the Young Bucks, but this is one of the few matches where like, and honestly, because of the story that they were telling, you kind of had no choice but to let it breathe. So it wasn't just a bunch of choreographed bullshit for the sake of having choreographed bullshit. It was choreographed bullshit still, but every spot had a purpose. The story of the match was consistently trying to separate Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy so you could take advantage of the situation. Isaiah Cassidy was bleeding profusely from the top of his head, and they were just wearing them down. And I like that. That was almost akin to WWE-esque storytelling, what they did in this match. Eventually, Mark Quinn was separated. He was outside of the ring. The Young Bucks brought him up to the top of the ramp, and Kazuchika Okada came out and gave Mark Quinn a tombstone power driver on the top of the ring. And while he was laid out, for the last couple of minutes of that match, they just beat the dog shit out of Isaiah Cassidy. Isaiah was trying his best to fight back, but they kept cutting him off over and over and over again. I mean, it did get a little bit crazy with the excessive kickouts. I didn't like that all too much, but I get the point of what they were trying to do. It just comes with the territory in professional wrestling in 2024. You take what you can get, right? But it did get to a point where they were about to pin him before Mark Quinn made himself back to the ring, and he broke up the pinfall with them taking him out again. I mean, they were just going balls to the wall as far as the storytelling was considered. Mark Quinn, he got hit with a suicide dive. Now, granted, he did no-sell it, but at the same time, you know, Nick Jackson didn't really hit it all too much, so I can kind of see it a little tiny bit. But it looks like they were going to go for the Tony Khan driver before Mark Quinn pushed him off the turnbuckle. I think it was Nick that got put off. And then they ended up hitting the gin and juice. Well, they threw Matt out the ring, and then they ended up hitting the gin and juice on Nick. And they won the match like that. And they're the new tag team champions, which was a great moment. That was a fantastic moment. You know, you had the Young Bucks take the tag team belts away from them, stare them dead in the face, and then they gave them back the tag team championship belts and pretty much lauded them, congratulated them, and left the ring to themselves, which seems like it's going to be, I'm not sure if this is I think this is a face turn, only because I'm assuming now the Young Bucks are going to try to make their way into maybe the AEW full-time stuff so they can start combating the BCC. That's what I presume is why they're turning face. But the question, now that we have all this done, is where do we go from here? So Private Party are the new tag team champions, right? Good. Solid match. Great storytelling. Can't put it over enough. Probably one of the best matches I've seen in AEW in a long time. Where do we go from here? You chase the belts. You finish the story. But where do you go from here? Do you have anything compelling that you can get your hands on, that you can sink your teeth into? Because it feels like that everything that you just did right now was peak. Do you continue to go up and prove me wrong and there's another peak? Or do you just go down? Prove me wrong, but I got a feeling it's going to be the second. Credit where credit is due. Like I said, bask in the glory of what you did tonight as far as this match is considered. But I got no faith for them to take advantage of the situation and go forward. Give me a compelling story. Give me a compelling feud for Private Party coming up. I don't know what tag team you're going to put in front of them. I don't know right now what tag team is even over enough for me to give a shit about. I barely give a shit about Private Party. They got me invested into them now, right now, at this very moment. But that's really, really brittle. That's really fragile. That can be broken very easily. Something tells me, call me crazy, I think they got brittle bone syndrome. But I'm willing to give it a chance. Good job tonight. Going forward, though, we did have this promo segment with Chris Jericho and his little goons, Jericho Appreciation Society. Nothing really spectacular. Them just cutting a self promo about how he's going to take ROH to new heights. It was pretty stupid. And we had this little segment backstage, which I found pretty intriguing directly after the tag team match and the whole Chris Jericho promo. They did go over Mariah May and what the hell is that girl's name again? The fucking Jungle Boy's girlfriend, whatever the fuck her name is. They're going to have a match at Collision. Who gives a shit? But this was somewhat interesting, I guess, coming off of the tag team stuff. Jungle Boy was walking out of the locker room before he was joked up by Daniel Garcia, I guess eventually promoting the match with them for the TNT Championship. But when Jungle Boy went back into the locker room, you see the Young Bucks and that dork fucking Brandon Cutler. They're like all shredding papers and they're destroying documents. I don't know what the fuck that's all about, but I'm intrigued to see where they're gonna go with that also. Just like pure curiosity, not even necessarily giving a fuck outside of the fact that they're doing that. But once again, good job on the tag team match. I just don't believe in you guys to continue going forward and actually do what's right with that belt or belts and, you know, Private Party. But prove me wrong. Coming up next, it looks like we're about to get the match with Chris Statlander and Camille. Hopefully they kill it also. But yeah, good job. At least you got one good thing going on tonight. So I'm not really going to waste too much time on this. Maybe one of the shortest segments I've ever done when reviewing Dynamite. This was stupid. This was pointless. This was dumb. I get what they were trying to do after the match with Mercedes Mone, and I guess this is a new, I don't know, development in her character. But I mean, we've seen this so many times in AEW. I mean, we've seen it with MJF and Wardlow. We've seen it with Adam Cole and Wardlow. We've seen it with Luchasaurus and Christian. And now I guess they're doing the same thing with Mercedes Mone and Camille. I guess, you know, she's an overbearing bitch, and she's, I don't know, so small yet towering over Camille. So Camille lost the match against Chris Statlander in a very nothing match. It was very short. Chris Statlander won it pretty decisively, and Sasha Banks came in the ring and hit Chris Statlander in the back of the head with the title belt, and then she told Camille to, like, very aggressively to get out of the ring, and pretty much snarkily said, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. So I guess that's the whole thing that they want to do. They want to make it to Mercedes and Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship, but more importantly, establishing that Sasha Banks is very domineering, and there's going to probably be some problems with her and Camille coming up in the next upcoming months. I mean, it is what it is. And then you had Christian pretty much call out Hook next week to have a conversation as to why he did what he did last week when he, you know, hit him with the kill switch on the briefcase. So, I mean, I wish we would have got Christian tonight. More of Christian is always a good thing, but it is what it is. I mean, again, there's nothing more to say about it. Let's get to the main event. Shelton Benjamin, one-on-one with Swerve Strickland. Is he here or is he not here? Only one way to find out. Let's see. Well, the worst kept secret in professional wrestling just became uncovered. He's here, folks. He's here. So first and foremost, Shelton and Hangman. I almost said Hangman. Shelton, and I just told you how close they are together, right? Shelton and Swerve, they had a pretty decent match. Nothing that is really notable, to be perfectly honest with you. Just the run-of-the-mill match. Nothing terrible, just very average. I don't think anyone's really going to be talking about the match anyways. Swerve Strickland did win the match. I mean, obviously, the whole point of building up Shelton Benjamin this entire time was just to eventually have him lose to Swerve Strickland, but you want to make him look as competent as humanly possible, right? Make him actually look like a threat. Well, he did win the match, and then MVP got on his cell phone, and you can hear him mouth the words, "It's time." Because, you know, it's AEW, and they're fuck-ups. Nothing that really egregious, but I guess they kind of did botch Bobby's entrance a little tiny bit with the flickering lights. Eventually, they did get it working again, and then Bobby Lashley came out, and he has a new theme song. You know, obviously, Titantron looks like it came straight from WWE. Has a nice little, what would you say, beige, I guess, suit on. He comes out to the ring. Swerve Strickland looks confused. I don't know why. Seriously, do you not use social media? Who the hell didn't know Bobby Lashley was going to show up tonight? But I guess it's professional wrestling, and, you know, it wouldn't be professional wrestling if they weren't insulting your intelligence, right? But Swerve Strickland, he ended up getting his ass beat by Bobby Lashley. Shelton Benjamin and MVP, they ended up taking out Prince Nana. You had security guards coming out to the ring. They're beating the crap out of him. Everybody, you know, MVP, Shelton, Bobby, just destroying the security guards. And afterwards, they stood there, towering over Swerve Strickland's broken body, towering over Prince Nana. And MVP gets on the microphone. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business." And the show goes off the air like that. Now, like I said, is it anything that was super duper impressive? To be quite honest, no. There was nothing about this that was impressive, honestly. I thought this felt rather underwhelming. That's just me, though. It's probably more so, to be fair, it's more so the fact that we all knew that Bobby Lashley was going to show up tonight. I mean, we knew he was going to show up tonight as soon as MVP came on the pay-per-view and pretty much confronted Swerve Strickland. As soon as they made that match for tonight, we knew this is when Bobby Lashley was going to debut. As soon as they had the tag team match for the tag team championships, not main event, you knew it was going to be something spectacular. They're not going to go off the air with Shelton Benjamin and Swerve Strickland, obviously. But as always, when you have these WWE appearances on AEW, hey, AEW, there we go. You have to ask the question. No different than what I asked for Private Party. Gotta ask the same thing for Bobby Lashley. Okay, so he's here now. He's now All Elite. Bobby Lashley will indeed be feuding with Swerve Strickland. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a match coming up in Full Gear. What do you do, not just with this match, but afterwards with Bobby Lashley? That's the question. He's here now. You have him. Did you bring him in just to pop a number? Did you bring him in here just to have something surprising happen? I'm pretty sure, like I said, everybody knew he was coming tonight, so I'm pretty sure you're going to pop a pretty decent number. Well, decent in comparison to your ratings in the past few months. Although it would be funny as hell if you don't get 7. You better get at least 700,000 tomorrow at the very least. But like I said, Bobby Lashley is here. And the question now begins, not only what are you going to do with this feud going forward, but also, what do you do with Bobby Lashley afterwards? You see, there's a lot of complaints in the past couple of years that Bobby Lashley was not treated well in WWE. I tend to disagree. I think Bobby Lashley was probably the #1 superstar in 2021, if you ask me. But obviously, 2023, 2024 weren't really good years to Bobby Lashley. Weren't great, kind years to Bobby Lashley. Well, you have the Hurt Business right here. I don't know what they're going to call themselves going forward. But here's your opportunity to right a wrong, AEW, Tony Khan. WWE, for some stupid reason, thought that it was a good idea to break up the Hurt Business unceremoniously as early as they did. It was a terrible decision. I will never, ever, ever let them, like, you just can't leave. You can't let that go. I can't let that go. It was stupid. But here you have them. They're under contract underneath your umbrella. Do you capture that same magic from 2020? Do you use Bobby Lashley to the best of his abilities? You have MVP there also. Great mic talker. Shelton Benjamin, a legend. One may even argue Bobby Lashley is a legend. All in the palm of your hands. The problem, though, as proven time and time again, whenever you see prospects prior to this, I don't trust Tony Khan and how he's going to treat Bobby Lashley. I don't trust Tony Khan and AEW in regards to how they're going to use Bobby Lashley. You see, I know you're going to get it right with all this stuff with Swerve Strickland. Hell, you might even get it right after Swerve Strickland. But what about after that feud with Swerve Strickland? What about throughout the duration of 2025? Does he wear out his usefulness as quickly as he came? Is he on Rampage? Is he battling on Collision? Is he going to fulfill his prophecy when he inevitably takes on Orange Cassidy and Jobs? Or maybe Daniel Garcia? Or maybe Jungle Boy? You see, there's a bunch of concerns that I think a lot of people have with AEW in regards to Bobby Lashley. Never mind the fact that their storytelling is atrocious and abominable, and I just don't trust them when it comes to feuds. But their track record when it comes to big men is not the best. Just calling them like I see it. Calling a spade for a spade. I want to get behind all this. I want to feel happy for Bobby Lashley. I just don't see a great track record that tell me anything else differently. I don't see anything that leads any evidence to the contrary. You see, you're already starting off this right here with similar storylines attached to the BCC. Now, that's not a bad thing, but it is something concerning. I don't have any faith in AEW, and typically this would be around the time when I say I'm willing to give them a chance. I guess I kind of have no choice, right? It's no different than Private Party. You kind of have no choice but to give them a chance. You either give them a chance or you just don't watch the show. Do right by Bobby, Tony. Don't fuck this up like you fucked everything else up. All your signings this year, outside of Will Ospreay, has been a disappointment. Every WWE signing you had this year, Ricochet, Mercedes, disappointments. You have a chance to right a wrong, and you have an opportunity to make a big star in your company. I don't know how you'll fuck it up, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna fuck it up. But I guess only time will tell, right? Overall, tonight's show, it had a couple of things that were good. Not really, honestly, just the tag team match, and you can argue maybe Bobby Lashley. Everything else, for the most part, was typical run-of-the-mill AEW trash. I gave it a shot. You know, I gave it a shot. Don't want to hear any complaints from anybody as far as me not taking it seriously. I think I did. And when I took it seriously, and when I gave it a chance, it still feels just like every other AEW episode. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below in regards to how you felt about tonight. I'm gonna go lay down and get some sleep, I guess. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P, Ice.